space between emotion and expression. There is a split second, a subtle, almost invisible pause that exists between what you feel and what you say. It's barely noticeable. And yet, it's where everything can change. Your relationships, your peace, your dignity, your future. Most people never find this space. They rush past it. They live in reaction, not response. They speak not to connect, but to release pressure. Dear friend, share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Turn on notifications so you never miss an update that shows you are Divine One. This isn't just another video for the feed, but another piece of content to scroll. You share. This was made for someone like you in mind. Someone who's tired, maybe not in body, but in spirit. Someone who needs to hear that their quiet strength matters, even when it's unseen. They speak because they're wounded and want to wound back. They yell because anger feels like power. They interrupt because listening makes them feel too vulnerable. They speak over others because they're afraid of being unseen. They attack because no one ever taught them how to heal. And so, the mouth becomes a weapon. Not a tool for understanding, but a device for emotional release. Words in these moments are not conscious choices. They are spills, leaks, emotional bleeding disguised as speech. But here's the deeper truth. Anyone can speak from impulse, but only a grounded mind speaks from intention. Because it's easy to react. It takes no effort to be loud. It takes no wisdom to throw blame, sarcasm, or passive-aggressive jabs. Those things are driven by raw, unfiltered emotion. But to pause? To breathe instead of explode? To choose your response when you're tempted to rage? That's strength. That's mastery. Uncontrolled speech is leaked emotion. Impulsive speech is not clarity. It's chaos. It's your unprocessed emotions slipping through your teeth. It's your nervous system screaming for relief in the only way it knows, through noise. And the cost is high, because every time you speak without intention, you trade understanding for ego. You sacrifice connection to feel momentarily powerful. You burn bridges for a flame that doesn't last. It's a cycle that feels good for a second, but hollow forever. When you speak from impulse, you let your emotions run the show. You hand over your inner peace to the loudest feeling in the room, and without realizing it, you become a puppet. Not of the people around you, but of the pain still living inside you. But here's what few understand. Every word you choose is an extension of your inner world. It's a reflection of your self-awareness, or lack of it. It shows whether you've done the work to understand yourself, or if you're still trapped in survival mode. The words that come out of your mouth are not random. They are either shaped by your wounds or guided by your wisdom. And that's the difference between a reaction and a response. A reaction is emotional. A response is conscious. One creates regret. The other builds respect. Master the moment before you speak, the real power. It lives in the pause, in that small, sacred space between what you feel and how you respond. The longer you learn to stretch that moment, to breathe in it, to check yourself in it, the more control you gain over your entire life. You're not meant to suppress your feelings. You're meant to channel them. You're meant to respond in ways that are aligned with your highest values, not your lowest impulses. So let your speech become a reflection of who you're becoming, not a reaction to who you once were. Let your words be chosen, not spilled. Let your voice carry clarity, not chaos. Because in the end, it's not about having the right to speak. It's about having the wisdom to know when and how to speak. And that changes everything. A harsh reply, a sarcastic comment, a defensive jab thrown in self-protection. In the heat of the moment, these reactions feel justified, almost rewarding, like small victories, like you've reclaimed a sliver of control in a world that made you feel small, insulted, or misunderstood. But here's what's often overlooked: the long-term cost. Because these outbursts don't just echo in the ears of others, they echo within you. Every time you respond with anger instead of awareness, you trade clarity for chaos. You surrender respect, both theirs and your own, for a fleeting sense of superiority. You create fractures in trust that are slow to heal. Most of all, you disturb your own inner peace, which is the foundation of sound judgment, strength, and emotional intelligence. The Stoics knew this deeply. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. But I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own." In other words, expect the provocation, but don't be provoked. Expect the insult, but do not lower yourself to insult back. The measure of too often, people mistake emotional impulsiveness for authenticity. They confuse unfiltered expression with honesty, as if saying whatever comes to mind, no matter how sharp or careless, is some kind of virtue. They lash out in anger and label it just being real. They insult, criticize, or dump their emotions onto others without restraint, and then justify it with, "I'm just being honest." But honesty without discipline is not clarity, it's chaos. True honesty isn't about speaking every thought that crosses your mind. It's not about making others uncomfortable just because you're uncomfortable. It's not a license to be reckless with your words. There's a difference between truth and emotional discharge. One is constructive, the other is destructive. As Epictetus said, any person capable of angering you becomes your master. He can anger you only when you permit yourself to be disturbed by him. What does this mean in the context of speech? It means that blurting out your anger, frustration, or judgment in the name of truth isn't strength, it's surrender. You're surrendering to impulse, to ego, to the reactive parts of yourself that haven't yet learned the discipline of discernment. Real honesty requires maturity. It means knowing when to speak, and when silence is the wiser choice. It means choosing words that illuminate rather than harm, even when the truth is hard to hear. It means grounding your truth in empathy, not ego. Because uncontrolled expression might feel powerful in the moment, but it often leaves damage in its wake. Broken trust, misunderstood intentions, unnecessary conflict. And at the end of the day, your words are not just reflections of what you think, they're extensions of who you are. So don't just be honest, be clear, be kind, be intentional. That's what real authenticity looks like. Let's be honest, real strength isn't found in the person who always has something to say. It isn't in the one who dominates the room with opinions, or who insists on voicing every fleeting thought, as if silence were weakness. No, true strength lies else. After a long pause, he turned to the boy and said, "When someone offers you a gift, and you do not accept it, who does the gift belong to?" The boy, confused, replied, "It belongs to the one who offered it." "Exactly," said the warrior, walking away. "And so do your insults. The lesson?" He didn't suppress his emotions. He understood them. He paused long enough to see clearly. This child's taunt didn't deserve his reaction. It wasn't about truth, it was about provocation. That's what intentional speech looks like. It's not weakness, it's depth. It's the strength to act from clarity, not reflex. In the modern world, where conversations are fast, emotions are high, and social validation rewards quick comebacks, the pause becomes revolutionary. It's an act of rebellion against reactivity. It's a conscious refusal to let your emotions dictate your character. So don't fear the silence before the sentence. That silence is your strength. Speak not to unload your mood, but to uplift the moment. Not to attack, but to reveal truth. Not to impress, but to connect. Because once you learn to pause, to reflect, and to choose your words with care, you stop being controlled by your emotions, and you start becoming someone who controls the energy of every room you enter. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once offered a powerful piece of guidance. Let silence be your general rule, or say only what is necessary and in few words. This wasn't just advice about being quiet. It was a call to discipline, to intentionality, to the wisdom of restraint. In essence, he was saying, speak less, but say more. Don't waste your voice on noise. Let your words carry weight, not just volume. Because words are not passive things. They are not harmless. They are builders or breakers, tools or weapons. Your words build or break everything around you. Every sentence you speak is a choice, and every choice shapes something: your relationships, your integrity, your legacy. Words can build bridges between hearts or burn them down in a moment of carelessness. They can open someone's spirit or shut them down entirely. They can be the beginning of trust or the seed of lifelong resentment. A gentle phrase spoken at the right time can mend a rift, calm a storm, or give someone the courage to keep going. A thoughtless comment, even if brief, can linger in someone's heart for years. Think about it. A simple, "I'm proud of you," can change the way someone sees themselves. A careless, "You always mess things up," can become a belief that haunts them for life. Words are not just sounds, they are spells. Spoken energy. Once released, they ripple outward in ways we can't always predict. Imagine this, a conversation that changes everything next to two friends in conflict. One feels betrayed, the other feels misunderstood. The room is heavy with silence and emotion. One of them is ready to speak, ready to defend, accuse, and unload every ounce of frustration. But instead of reacting, they pause, they breathe, and then they say, with softness, "I know we're both hurting. I want to understand you, not fight you." That one sentence, calm, intentional, changes everything. The walls come down, healing becomes possible. Why? Because the words were chosen not from ego, but from clarity. Not to win, but to repair. This is the real weight of language. You don't need to speak constantly to be heard. You don't need to shout to have power. You don't need to speak 1,000 words to make an impact. You just need to be aware that every word you choose becomes part of the emotional architecture you're building, whether in a relationship, a friendship, a team, or your own inner dialogue. So choose carefully. Speak purposefully. Let silence be your default. But when you do speak, let it be with presence, kindness, and meaning. Because words are not just part of your story. They write the story. And you get to decide whether yours becomes one of connection and strength, or division and regret. The power of a sentence, to break or to heal. A single impulsive sentence, spoken in anger, pride, or pain, can unravel years of trust. One careless remark can sever a connection built slowly, brick by brick, moment by moment, over time. And yet, one intentional, thoughtful sentence, spoken with love, humility, or understanding, can mend what was thought to be broken beyond repair. That is the quiet, often underestimated power of language. Words are not neutral. They are never neutral. They either nourish or destroy, open or close, invite or repel. And sometimes, all it takes is one sentence to tilt the balance. But the real truth is, the most important conversations you'll ever have are not with others. They're with yourself. We often overlook how much our internal dialogue shapes the way we live. The tone we use when we speak to ourselves becomes the tone we carry into every relationship, every challenge, every opportunity. Short story, The Man at the Cliff's Edge. Here's the deeper truth. Anyone can speak. Anyone can shout. Anyone can fire off a reaction in the heat of the moment. That requires no training, no wisdom, no self-awareness. It's easy. It's instinctual. It's emotional reflex dressed up as expression. But the person who remains centered in the storm, the one who speaks with calm, composed clarity, while everyone else is caught in the wave of reactivity, that person is rare. They don't just speak to be heard, they speak to be understood. They don't shout to prove power. They speak softly with presence, and in doing so, they draw people in. They may not say much, but when they do, the room quiets. Not because they are loud, but because they are clear. Not because they are intimidating, but because they are anchored. This is not about suppressing emotion. It's about transcending the impulse to be ruled by it. Philosophical wisdom from Marcus Aurelius. The Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." What does this mean in the realm of communication? It means your strength isn't in how forcefully you speak, but in how clearly you think. It means that in moments of high emotion, when anger flares, when tension rises, when egos clash, the one who pauses, who breathes, who responds instead of reacts, wins, not in dominance, but in discipline, because nothing is more powerful than a person who cannot be provoked easily. Consider this scene, the meeting that almost exploded. Imagine a heated work meeting. Everyone's frustrated. Blame is flying. Voices rise. Tension tightens the air like a drum skin. Accusations are tossed like grenades across the table. But one person, quiet until now, leans forward and says in a steady voice, "I hear that we're all feeling overwhelmed. Maybe instead of blaming each other, we could focus on what's within our control. What can each of us do differently moving forward?" And suddenly, the atmosphere shifts. The noise begins to fall away. People start to listen, not because the person was the loudest, but because they brought order to chaos. That's the power of calm clarity. It doesn't need volume. It commands attention through composure. In a world that glorifies immediate reactions and quick comebacks, grounded responses feel like a lost art. But the people who develop this art become trusted leaders, sought-after friends, anchors in uncertain times. So if you want to stand out, don't try to speak over everyone. Speak beneath the noise. Speak from stillness. Speak with intention.